The emergency alarm rang through the massive space station New Geneva. Captain Jake Morrison walked quickly down the long hallway toward the council chamber. His boots made sharp sounds on the metal floor. He had been called to this meeting just 1 hour ago. The message was simple but urgent. All human representatives must come at once. Jake had served as the human military advisor for 3 years now. He had seen many council meetings, but never one called with such speed. Something was very wrong. Dr. Lisa Carter caught up with him near the chamber doors. She was breathing hard from running. Her white lab coat was wrinkled, and her hair was messy. She had been working in her laboratory when the call came. "Do you know what this is about?" she asked Jake. "No idea," he replied. "But look around." Lisa looked down the hallway. Ships from all 7 council species were docked at the station. Their flags hung from the ceiling. But something felt different today. The alien diplomats, who usually greeted each other warmly, now stood in small groups, whispering quietly. Commander Alex Rivera joined them at the chamber entrance. His uniform was perfect as always, but his face showed worry. As head of the human fleet, he knew about military movements across the galaxy. For the past week, several alien fleets had been moving toward human colonies without explanation. "Any word from Earth?" Lisa asked Alex. "Senator Brooks is already inside," Alex said. "She got here an hour before us." "Whatever this is about, it's big." The 3 humans entered the council chamber together. The room was huge, with a high ceiling that showed the stars outside through clear walls. 7 large seats were arranged in a circle. Each seat was designed for a different alien species. The human seat was smaller than most, but placed in a position of honor near the center. Senator Helen Brooks sat in the human chair. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but today her face was hard like stone. She had been humanity's chief diplomat for 15 years. She had helped write most of the treaties that kept peace in the galaxy. Jake, Lisa, and Alex took their places behind her chair. Around the circle, the other species were also gathering. Elder Synthara represented the Valari. She was very old, even for her long-lived species. Her blue skin was marked with silver lines that showed her age and wisdom. The Valari had been traveling space for thousands of years, before humans even discovered fire. Prime Calculator Vex spoke for the Zenthari. His mechanical body clicked and hummed as he moved. The Zenthari had replaced most of their organic parts with machines long ago. They thought in numbers and logic, not emotions. War leader Gorthak commanded respect from the Corvan Empire. He was huge, even sitting down. His species loved fighting and had conquered many worlds before joining the council. Scars covered his thick skin like medals. The other species took their places quickly. The Melani Federation, the mysterious Ashkari, and the collective-minded Hivari all sent their top representatives. This was not a normal meeting. Elder Synthara stood first. Her voice was soft, but carried clearly through the chamber. "We call this emergency session to discuss a matter of great importance," she said. "The human expansion into the Outer Rim territories must be stopped." Senator Brooks did not move, but Jake felt his anger rise. Human colonies in the Outer Rim were built on empty worlds. They had asked permission before settling each one. Prime Calculator Vex activated a holographic display above the center of the room. It showed the galaxy with different colors for each species territory. The human areas glowed bright yellow. "Human growth rate exceeds acceptable parameters," Vex said in his mechanical voice. "In 50 years, human territory has expanded by 340%. This creates instability in galactic balance." War leader Gorthik slammed his fist on his chair's armrest. "Humans breed like insects," he growled. "They claim every world they touch. Soon they will want our worlds too." Senator Brooks finally stood. Her voice was calm but firm. "Every human colony was approved by this council," she said. "We have followed every law, every treaty. We have taken nothing that belonged to others." "That is not the issue," Elder Synthara replied. "The issue is human ambition. Your species changes too quickly. You develop new weapons, new ships, new ideas faster than we can understand them. This threatens the order we have built." Lisa stepped forward. As the chief human scientist, she had helped develop many of the technologies they were discussing. "Those new ideas have saved millions of lives," she said. "Human medicine stopped the Dark Star plague. Human engineering built the hyperspace relay network that connects all our worlds. Human agriculture feeds 3 billion beings on Council worlds." "And that is exactly the problem," said the Milani representative. "You make yourselves too important. Other species begin to depend on human solutions instead of finding their own." Jake could not stay quiet any longer. "We share everything freely," he said. "Every discovery, every innovation. We ask for nothing in return except the right to grow and explore like any other species." The Ashkari representative spoke for the first time. The Ashkari rarely talked in council meetings. When they did, others listened. "Humans do not understand their own power," the Ashkari said. "You solve problems others cannot solve. You go places others fear to go. You make friends with species that others call enemies. This makes you dangerous, even when you do not mean to be." War leader Gorthik stood up. His massive form cast a shadow over the human delegation. "Dangerous is right," he said. "Human soldiers are too good at fighting. Human diplomats are too good at making deals. Human scientists are too good at discovering secrets. You make the rest of us look weak." "So you want to make us weak instead," Commander Rivera said. His voice was ice cold. Elder Synthara raised her hand for silence. She looked directly at Senator Brooks. "We propose new regulations," she said. "Human military forces will be reduced by 60%. Human research will be supervised by council observers. All human technological developments will be shared immediately with other species. Human colonization will be limited to 10 new worlds per century." The chamber fell silent. Senator Brooks looked at each alien representative slowly. Her eyes stopped on Elder Synthara. "And if we refuse these demands?" she asked. "They are not demands," Prime Calculator Vex said. "They are necessary adjustments to maintain galactic stability." "What if we refuse?" Senator Brooks repeated. "War leader." Gorthik smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Then you will be removed from the council. Your trade agreements will end. Your colonies will lose council protection. You will stand alone." Senator Brooks nodded slowly. She looked at Jake, Lisa, and Alex. Each of them nodded back. They had all reached the same conclusion. "I call for a vote," Senator Brooks said. "The motion is to approve new regulations on human activities," Elder Synthara announced. "All in favor?" 6 hands rose around the circle. Only the human seat remained empty. "Motion carries," Elder Synthara said. "The new regulations take effect immediately." Senator Brooks stood again. She walked to the center of the chamber and looked up at the stars visible through the clear ceiling. "For 100 years, humans have served this council faithfully," she said. "We have bled for your worlds. We have died for your people. We have given everything we had to build this galactic civilization together." She turned to face the other representatives. "But we will not be slaves. We will not accept chains, even golden ones. We will not watch our children grow up in cages you build around us." Senator Brooks walked back to the human chair and placed her hand on its back. "The human delegation withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We will honor our defense contracts for 60 days to give you time to make other arrangements. After that, humanity will find its own path among the stars. The chamber erupted in chaos. Alien voices shouted in a dozen different languages. But Senator Brooks was already walking toward the exit. Jake, Lisa, and Alex followed her dot at the door. Senator Brooks turned back one last time. "We came to you as friends," she said. "We leave as free beings. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us. We hope you remember that." The four humans walked out of the council chamber. Behind them, the argument continued. But ahead of them, the stars waited. And humanity had always been good at reaching for the stars. Admiral Roy Campbell stood on the bridge of the battleship Enterprise, watching the holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked every human base, colony, and outpost. There were thousands of them scattered across Council. Space. Each one needed to be evacuated within 60 days. "Admiral, we have a problem," said his aide, Lieutenant Karen Davis. She handed him a data pad with the latest reports. "The Corvin Empire has blockaded 3 of our mining stations in the Beta sector. They claim the stations are now in their territory." Roy rubbed his tired eyes. It had been only 1 week since humanity left the Council, but the other species were already moving to claim human assets. He had expected this, but not so quickly. "What about our people on those stations?" he asked. 2,000 miners and their families," Karen replied. "The Corvins are demanding they leave immediately, but they won't let our ships through to evacuate them." Roy looked at the display again. Similar problems were happening everywhere. Without Council protection, human settlements were vulnerable. Other species saw this as their chance to grab valuable territory and resources. "Send the 4th Fleet to Beta Sector," Roy ordered. "Tell Captain Morgan to escort our people out safely. If the Corvins want to fight, they'll get one." Meanwhile, on the planet Kepler Prime, Dr. Nathan Cole was dealing with his own crisis. He ran the Human Colonial Administration, which managed civilian settlements across the galaxy. His office was chaos. Phones rang constantly. Computer screens showed emergency messages from dozens of worlds. "Sir, we have another evacuation request," said his assistant, Maria Santos. "The colony on Tau Ceti 5. 3 million people want to leave, but we don't have enough ships." Nathan looked out his window at the spaceport. Hundreds of civilian ships waited to take people away from Council space. But there were not enough ships for everyone who wanted to leave. Some families had lived on alien worlds for 3 generations. Now they had to choose between staying with no protection or abandoning everything they had built. "What about the agricultural worlds?" Nathan asked. "That's worse," Maria said sadly. "The farming colonies feed half the Melani Federation. The Melani are begging our people to stay. They're offering huge payments and guarantees of safety. But our farmers don't trust them. They remember what happened to the mining stations. They want to leave before the Melani change their minds." Nathan made a hard decision. Send evacuation ships to the agricultural worlds first. "I know it will hurt the Melani, but our people's safety comes first." In deep space, Captain Maya, Singh commanded the survey ship Endeavor. Her mission was to find new worlds for human settlement outside Council territory. The regions beyond Council space were considered dangerous and worthless by most alien species. But Maya was discovering something amazing. "Captain, you need to see this," called her science officer, Lieutenant Ben Parker. He was looking at sensor readings from the planet below them. "This world has everything we need. Fresh water, breathable. Atmosphere, rich soil, and huge mineral deposits." Maya studied the data. Why didn't the Council species claim this world? "The gravity is too strong for most of them," Ben explained. "Also, there are dangerous storms in the upper atmosphere. Council ships can't land safely." "But human ships can handle it," Maya said with a smile. "How many worlds like this have?" "We found 17 so far, Ben replied. And we've only explored one small sector. There could be hundreds more. Maya recorded a message to send back to Human Command. The Outer Rim is not empty wasteland like the Council claimed. It's full of worlds that are perfect for human settlement. Worlds that other species can't use, but we can. Back in Council Space, General Linda Hayes was gathering intelligence on the alien species' activities. Her spy network had agents throughout the galaxy. The reports they sent back were disturbing. The Council is falling apart faster than we expected, she told Admiral Campbell during a secure video call. The Xanthari and Velari are fighting over who gets to control our research stations. The Corvin Empire is trying to grab as much territory as possible. The Milani Federation is panicking because their economy depends on human-run trade routes. What about the systems we built? Roy asked. That's the real problem, Linda said. The hyperspace relay network is starting to fail. The aliens don't know how to maintain it properly. 3 major relays went offline this week. If this continues, long-distance communication and travel will become impossible. Roy shook his head. They wanted to get rid of us, but they never learned how to do our jobs. The evacuation continued for weeks. Human military units packed up their equipment and prepared to leave bases they had occupied for decades. Civilian colonies loaded everything they could carry on to transport ships. Families said goodbye to alien friends they might never see again, but not everyone left. On the planet Harmony, which humans had helped build into a model of cooperation between species, many humans chose to stay. Dr. Susan Wright was one of them. This is my home, she told the evacuation coordinator. I was born here. My children were born here. My alien neighbors are good people. I won't abandon them just because some politicians made bad decisions. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Millions of humans decided to remain on alien worlds, creating a scattered population that might complicate future relations. The most difficult evacuations were the research stations. Human scientists had spent decades building laboratories and collecting data. Dr. Lisa Carter supervised the evacuation of the Prometheus Research Station, where humans had been studying ancient alien technology. We can't take everything, she told her team. Pack only the most important research. Destroy anything that could be dangerous in the wrong hands. What about the project files? Asked Dr. Kevin Brown, her top researcher. Copy everything to secure storage, Lisa ordered. We'll continue our work in human space. Maybe without council restrictions, we could make even bigger discoveries. As the evacuation reached its final phase, unexpected problems arose. Several alien species began to realize what they were losing. The Ashkari, who rarely communicated with others, sent a message asking humans to reconsider. The Hivari Collective offered to support human rights in the council if humanity would return. But it was too late. Senator Helen Brooks, now working as humanity's chief diplomat, rejected all offers. They had their chance to treat us fairly, she said in a broadcast to all human colonies. They chose to see us as a threat instead of partners. We won't make that mistake again. The last human military unit left council space exactly 60 days after the withdrawal announcement. Admiral Campbell watched from his flagship as the final transport ships disappeared into hyperspace. Behind them, they left empty bases, abandoned research stations, and a galaxy that was already starting to realize its mistake. Where to now, Admiral? Asked Lieutenant Davis. Roy looked at the star charts showing the unexplored regions beyond Council territory. Toward the future, Lieutenant. Toward worlds where humans can be free to become whatever we're meant to be. The great exodus was complete. Humanity had left the galaxy they had helped build. But ahead of them lay infinite possibilities among the stars. Elder Synthera sat in her private chamber on the Valari homeworld, staring at reports that filled her with growing dread. 1 year had passed since the humans left the council. What started as small problems had grown into a crisis that threatened everything the Valari had built over thousands of years. "Elder, we have lost contact with the Outer Rim colonies," reported her aide, Sub-Elder Krindar. His young face showed the worry that all Valari felt these days. "The hyperspace relay in Sector 7 has failed completely. We cannot reach 12. Star systems." Synthara closed her eyes. The hyperspace relay network was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. It allowed instant communication across vast distances and made long-range travel possible. Without it, the galaxy was becoming a collection of isolated worlds again. "Have the Zenthari made any progress repairing the relays?" she asked. "No, Elder. Prime Calculator Vex reports that their attempts to fix the human-built systems have failed. They say the technology is too intuitive, too unpredictable for their logical minds to understand." On the Zenthari homeworld, Prime Calculator Vex was indeed struggling with exactly this problem. He stood in a laboratory filled with pieces of human relay technology. His mechanical fingers moved over the components, but he could not understand how they worked together. "The humans did not follow proper engineering protocols," he told his assistant, Calculator Zek. "Their designs mix organic and synthetic elements in ways that violate basic mathematical principles. Yet somehow they function perfectly. Can we not simply copy their construction exactly?" Zek asked. "We have tried," Vex replied. "But human technology seems to require human intuition to work properly. When we copy their designs exactly, they fail within days. When we try to improve them with logical modifications, they fail immediately." Vex turned to a wall display showing the galaxy. Red areas marked regions where hyperspace travel had become impossible due to relay failures. The red zones were growing every day. "Without the relay network, our civilization will collapse," he said. "Distance becomes our enemy again. We return to the dark ages of slow travel and delayed communication." Meanwhile, War Leader Gorthic faced his own disasters. The Corvan Empire had expanded rapidly after the humans left, claiming former human territory. But they were learning that controlling territory and managing it were very different things. "Report," Gorthic growled at his intelligence chief, Commander Thek. "The rebellion on Kappa Prime has spread to 3 more worlds," Thek said nervously. "The colonies we conquered from the humans are rising up. Without human peacekeepers to mediate disputes, the local populations see our rule as pure oppression." "Then crush them," Gorthic ordered. "We are trying, War Leader. But our supply lines are breaking down. The transport ships cannot navigate the dangerous asteroid fields that human pilots used to handle easily. Our forces on the outer worlds are running low on food and ammunition." Gorthic slammed his fist on the table. "How did humans make it look so easy?" "They had skills we do not possess," Thek admitted. "Their pilots could fly through hazards that would destroy our ships. Their diplomats could calm angry populations with words instead of weapons. Their engineers could keep complex systems running in conditions that would stop our machines. The economic situation was even worse for the Melani Federation. Trade Master Quillen watched his wealth disappear as galactic commerce collapsed. His trading empire had been built on the foundation of human-operated shipping routes that connected distant worlds safely and efficiently. "The cargo losses this month are catastrophic," reported his assistant, Trade Agent Pollux. 17 merchant ships destroyed trying to navigate the Nebula Passage without human guides. The insurance companies are refusing to cover trips through dangerous space. Quillen studied the trade reports with growing horror. "What about the agricultural shipments from the former human farming worlds?" "That trade has stopped completely," Pollux said. The Corvins who took over those worlds do not understand human farming techniques. Crop yields have dropped by 70%. The few crops they do grow spoil during transport because they do not know how to preserve them properly. We are facing famine, Quillen realized. Without human agricultural expertise and transport systems, we cannot feed our people. The crisis reached its peak when disaster struck the Kepler sector. For decades, human scientists had been monitoring and containing a dangerous space-time anomaly near the system's edge. The anomaly was a tear in reality itself, created by an ancient alien experiment gone wrong. Human containment fields kept it stable and harmless, but the humans who understood the containment system were gone. The alien scientists who remained tried to maintain the fields, but they did not fully understand the technology they were using. Dr. Zeth Carr, the Zentari scientist in charge of the containment project, sent an urgent message to the Council. The anomaly is expanding beyond all predictions. Our calculations show it will consume the entire Kepler system within 6 months if we cannot restore proper containment. The news sent panic through the Council. The Kepler system contained 17 inhabited worlds with a total population of 4 billion beings. If the anomaly consumed the system, it would be the greatest disaster in galactic history. Elder Synthara called an emergency council session. The chamber that had once been filled with confident voices now echoed with desperation. We must face reality, she told the assembled representatives. Our civilization is collapsing. The humans were not just another member species. They were the foundation that held everything together. War leader Gorthic refused to admit defeat. We can learn to do without them. We are strong. We survived before humans joined us. Did we? Asked the Ashkari representative. Before humans, we were isolated groups of worlds with little contact. They built the network that made us a true galactic civilization. Without them, we returned to what we were before, scattered tribes pretending to be an empire. Prime Calculator Vex presented his analysis. Human departure has caused cascade failure. In critical systems, hyperspace network, 47% degraded. Interstellar commerce, down 73%. Conflict resolution. Diplomatic failures up 340%. Food production decreased 31%. The mathematical conclusion is clear. We are dying. The Melani representative made a desperate suggestion. Can we not ask the humans to return? Offer them better terms? They are gone, Synthara said sadly. Our scouts report that human ships have moved far beyond Council space. They are building new colonies in regions we cannot even reach. They have found new alien species to work with. Why would they return to a council that rejected them? As the council meeting ended in failure, reports continued to arrive from across the galaxy. More relay stations went offline. Trade routes became impassable. Rebellions erupted on worlds that had been peaceful for centuries. The careful balance of power that had maintained galactic stability was crumbling. In the depths of space, the Kepler anomaly continued to grow. The warped space around it expanded like a cancer, making hyperspace travel impossible in an ever-widening zone. Scientists from all remaining Council species worked desperately to understand the human containment technology, but time was running out. The galaxy that had once been united under the Council was breaking apart. Communication became slow and unreliable. Travel became dangerous. Trade slowed to a trickle. The infrastructure that billions of beings depended on was failing, and no one knew how to fix it. Meanwhile, in the unexplored regions beyond Council space, human colonies were thriving. They had found new worlds to settle and new alien species to befriend. Free from Council restrictions, human technology advanced rapidly. They were building something new and better among the stars, but the old galaxy burned behind them, and soon The flames would spread beyond anyone's ability to control. Admiral Tony Martinez stood on the observation deck of the human monitoring station at the edge of former Council space. 3 years had passed since humanity left the galaxy behind. What he saw through the powerful telescopes filled him with both sadness and amazement. "Admiral, the latest sensor readings," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. She handed him a datapad showing the state of the old galaxy. 17 more star systems have gone dark this month. We can't detect any hyperspace activity in those regions at all. Tony studied the readings. Where once there had been a thriving network of connected worlds, now there were only isolated pockets of fading civilization. The galaxy looked like a dying organism, with whole sections going black as the life drained out of them. "Any word from the refugee camps?" he asked. "More arrivals every day," Sarah replied. Captain Johnson's relief ships brought in another 1,000 beings this week. They're telling horrible stories about the collapse. In the neutral zone between human and former Council space, Captain Luke Johnson commanded the mercy ship Liberty. His mission was officially humanitarian aid, but he was witnessing the death of a civilization firsthand. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal from the Zeta colony," reported his first officer, Lieutenant Mark Davis. "It's a Velari settlement. They say their food supplies are running out, and their transport ships can't navigate the asteroid field to reach them." Luke looked at the star chart. Zeta colony was in a region that human pilots had serviced for decades. The route through the asteroid field required split-second timing and intuitive flying skills that most alien species simply did not possess. "How many people?" Luke asked. 40,000 Velari civilians, including children," Mark replied. Luke made his decision. "Set course for Zeta colony. We'll evacuate as many as we can." "Sir, our orders are to maintain neutrality," Mark reminded him. "Our orders are to help refugees," Luke corrected. "These people are about to become refugees whether we help them or not." Meanwhile, Dr. Emma Watson was making discoveries that amazed even her. Working with new alien species in the Outer Rim, she had learned that humanity was not alone in leaving the galactic community. Several smaller species had also been pushed out by the Council's policies. "The Kethari tell a familiar story," she reported to Admiral Martinez via subspace transmission. "They were told their expansion was too rapid, their technology too dangerous. The Council demanded they accept restrictions or face isolation." "How many species did the Council drive away?" Tony asked. "At least 12 that we know of," Emma replied. "All of them were species that the major Council races saw as threats to their control. The pattern is clear. The Council was not a partnership of equals. It was a system designed to keep certain species on top." Emma's discovery explained why human colonies in the Outer Rim were thriving. They were not alone out there. Dozens of intelligent species had been waiting for someone to treat them as equals instead of subjects. Back in the dying galaxy, the situation reached a breaking point when the Kepler anomaly finally broke free of its failing containment system. The space-time tier that human scientists had kept stable for decades suddenly expanded. Beyond all control. Dr. Zeth Carr sent his final transmission as his research station was consumed by the growing anomaly. The expansion rate is exponential. Estimate complete system loss in 72 hours. Cannot stop the process. Recommend immediate evacuation of all populated worlds in Kepler sector. But evacuation was impossible. The hyperspace relay network had degraded so badly that most ships could not even reach the Kepler system. Those that could make the journey lacked the cargo capacity to save 4 billion people. Elder Synthara received the news in her chambers on the Velari homeworld. Her aide, Sub-Elder Krindar, brought reports that filled her with despair. "The anomaly has consumed 3 worlds already," he reported. "The gravitational effects are spreading to neighboring systems." Hyperspace travel has become impossible in a sphere 50 light-years across. Synthara looked at the star charts with tears in her ancient eyes. 4 billion souls, she whispered. Lost because we were too proud to accept human partnership. The Kepler disaster sent shockwaves through what remained of Council space. Panic spread as beings realized that their civilization could not protect them from cosmic-scale threats. Mass migrations began as entire populations tried to flee to safer regions, but there were no safe regions anymore. The infrastructure that had connected the galaxy was collapsing faster than anyone could repair it. Communication networks failed. Trade routes became impassable. Even the basic services that kept worlds habitable began to break down. Prime Calculator. Vex made a desperate attempt to restore order by deploying automated systems to replace human oversight. But the machines lacked the flexibility to handle unexpected problems. When situations arose that were not in their programming, they either shut down or made problems worse. On the former human agricultural world of Series 7, Vex is automated. Farming systems tried to optimize crop production by increasing fertilizer use, but they miscalculated the soil conditions and poisoned the entire planet's ecosystem. What had once been a garden world that fed millions became a toxic wasteland. In just 6 months, war leader Gorthic faced complete military collapse as his supply chains disintegrated. Corvin fleets found themselves stranded in distant systems without fuel or food. Rebellions that had started on individual worlds spread across entire sectors as local populations realized Empire could no longer project power effectively. We have lost 60% of our territory, reported Commander Thek during what would be their final strategy meeting. Our remaining forces are scattered and isolated. Many units have surrendered or simply abandoned their posts. Gorthic looked at the tactical display showing his crumbling empire. How did we become so weak so quickly? We were never as strong as we thought, Thek said quietly. Human logistics, human peacekeeping, human technology held our expansion together. Without them, we cannot even supply our own armies. The Melani Federation simply collapsed. Trade Master Quillen watched his fortune disappear as commerce ground to a halt. The sophisticated financial networks that had managed galactic trade for centuries became useless when goods could no longer move between star systems reliably. The bank on Nalani Prime has closed, reported Trade Agent Pollux during their final meeting. Currency exchange has stopped working. Without reliable shipping, interstellar trade has returned to primitive barter systems. Quillen stared out at the empty spaceport, where hundreds of merchant ships had once waited to carry goods across the galaxy. Now only a few local vessels remained, and even they rarely ventured beyond the nearest systems dot as the 4th year began. Reports reached the human monitoring stations about massive construction projects in former Council space. But these were not signs of recovery. They were fortifications. The remaining Council worlds were building walls around themselves, retreating into isolation as their galactic civilization died around them. Former Senator Helen Brooks, now serving as humanity's foreign minister, received a final message from Elder Synthara. The ancient Veilari leader appeared on the communication screen, looking far older than her thousands of years. Minister Brooks, Synthara said, her voice barely a whisper. I send this message to apologize. We were wrong. We were fools. We destroyed something beautiful because we feared what we did not understand. Helen listened with sadness in her heart. Despite everything, she had genuinely liked many of the alien leaders she had worked with during her years on the Council. We do not ask for your forgiveness, Synthara continued. We do not deserve it. But I wanted you to know that some of us understand what we lost when we drove humanity away. You were not just our partners. You were our hope for becoming something better than we were alone. The transmission ended. It was the last official communication between the dying Council and the growing human coalition. In human space, the opposite story was unfolding. New colonies thrived. New alliances formed with grateful alien species. New technologies emerged from the creative cooperation between humans and their partners. The galaxy that the Council had tried to control was being reborn beyond their reach, built on principles of equality and mutual respect that the old system had never achieved. President Dan Foster stood before the Human Coalition Congress on the beautiful world of New Terra. 5 years had passed since humanity left the dying council. Around him sat representatives from over 200 worlds, including humans, 43 different alien species who had chosen to join the coalition. Today, we celebrate not victory, but renewal, he said to the assembled delegates. 5 years ago, we were told we were too dangerous for galactic peace. Today, we have built a civilization that proves cooperation is stronger than control. In the audience, Elder Synthara listened with wonder. The ancient Valari leader had traveled far from her dying homeworld to witness this moment. Her journey had taken her through human territory, where she saw things that amazed her old eyes. On world after world, she had seen humans working side by side with alien species that the Council had never even contacted. Worlds that had been barren rocks were now garden planets. Species that had been enemies for centuries now lived as neighbors and friends. How did you do it? She had asked President Foster during their private meeting the day before. We listened, he had replied simply. Instead of telling other species what they should do, we asked them what they needed. Instead of demanding they follow our rules, we worked together to make rules that helped everyone. The Congress session was interrupted by urgent news from Captain Rachel Stone, who commanded the Coalition's Mercy Fleet. Her ships had been providing aid to survivors throughout the collapsed regions of the old galaxy. Mr. President, she reported via holographic transmission from her flagship Compassion, we've achieved a breakthrough with the Kepler anomaly. Our joint research team has successfully contained the expansion and is beginning to reverse the damage. The Congress chamber erupted in amazed voices. The Kepler disaster had been considered impossible to fix. The space-time tier had consumed 17 star systems and seemed to be growing forever. How did you manage it? Asked Dr. Lisa Carter, who now served as the Coalition's chief science advisor. Cooperation, Rachel replied with a smile. Human quantum engineers worked with Cathari dimensional specialists and Yelton gravity manipulators. Together, we developed containment methods that none of us could have created alone. Dr. Emma Watson, now the Coalition's Alien Relations Coordinator, added more good news. We've also made contact with survivor populations in the dead zones. Millions of beings who we thought were lost are actually alive, hiding in shielded colonies and emergency shelters. President Foster nodded. Captain Stone, you have authorization to begin full rescue operations. Bring them home. Meanwhile, Ambassador Chris Taylor was meeting with delegations from the surviving Council worlds. The proud species that had once dominated the galaxy now came to human space as humble petitioners, asking for help and hoping for forgiveness. The Zenthari delegation was led by Calculator Zek, since Prime Calculator Vex had shut down permanently. When he realized the mathematical impossibility of restoring their civilization without human partnership. We offer our complete technological archives, Zek said during negotiations. All Zenthari knowledge freely shared in exchange for membership in your coalition. We don't want your knowledge as payment, Chris replied. We want your partnership. Join us as equals, contribute what you can, and help us build something better together. The Melani Federation sent Trade Master Pollux, since Quillen had lost everything in the economic collapse. Our people are starving, he said desperately. Our trade networks are gone. Our worlds are isolated. We begged for your aid. You don't need to beg, Chris said gently. The coalition helps those in need. But if you want to join us permanently, you must abandon the old ways of thinking. No more master and servant relationships between species. Everyone contributes according to their abilities and receives according to their needs. Even war leader Gorthik came, though it was perhaps the hardest thing that proud Corvin had ever done. His empire was gone, his fleets scattered, his people reduced to refugees on dying worlds. "I do not ask for forgiveness," he said, his voice heavy with shame. "What we did to humanity was wrong. What we did to ourselves was foolish. I ask only that you save my people, even though we do not deserve it." "Everyone deserves a chance to start over," Chris replied. "The coalition has room for all who truly want peace." The integration process was not easy. Species that had spent centuries seeing themselves as superior had to learn humility. Governments that had ruled through force had to learn cooperation. Economies based on exploitation had to be rebuilt around mutual benefit. But slowly, it worked. Human terraforming teams restored damaged worlds. Human engineers rebuilt the hyperspace relay network with new, more reliable technology. Human diplomats mediated disputes between former enemies and helped them find common ground. Most importantly, humans shared their greatest gift, the ability to bring different species together as genuine partners rather than rulers and subjects. The first Galactic Assembly was held exactly 5 years after humanity's exodus from the Council. Representatives from over 500 worlds gathered on New Terra to establish the charter for their new civilization. Elder Synthara was given the honor of opening the assembly, representing not just the Vailari, but all the species that had learned from their mistakes. 5 years ago, we told humanity they were too dangerous for our galaxy, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the great hall. We were right about the danger, but wrong about the target. Humanity was dangerous to our prejudices, our pride, and our willingness to dominate others. They were dangerous to everything ugly about our old civilization. She paused, looking around at the diverse gathering of beings who had come together in hope rather than fear. Today, we build something new. Not a council of the powerful ruling over the weak, but a true alliance of equals. Not a system designed to prevent change, but one that embraces the growth and wonder that come from cooperation. President Foster delivered the closing address of the assembly. Behind him, a holographic display showed the galaxy as it was now. Hundreds of thriving worlds connected by new networks of trade and communication. Millions of species working together, and vast regions of space being open to exploration and settlement. 5 years ago, they told us the galaxy was not big enough for human ambition, he said. They were wrong about that, too. The galaxy is vast beyond imagination, full of wonders we have barely begun to discover. There is room for everyone to grow, to explore, to become more than they ever dreamed possible. The Assembly voted unanimously to adopt the Coalition Charter, establishing principles of equality, cooperation, and mutual aid that would guide their civilization for generations to come. As the delegates returned to their home worlds, they carried with them something the old council had never achieved: genuine hope for the future. They had seen what was possible when species worked together, as partners rather than competing for dominance. In the months that followed, more rescue missions brought survivors out of the collapsed regions. New colonies were established on worlds that had been considered uninhabitable. First contact teams made peaceful contact with dozens of species that had been hiding from the old council's expansion. The greatest achievement came when the joint research teams successfully restored normal space-time to the Kepler region. The 17 star systems that had been consumed by the anomaly were returned to the universe, though they would need decades of terraforming to become habitable again. Captain Rachel Stone stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the first new stars appear in the Kepler region in 5 years. Mission accomplished, she reported to Coalition Command. The dead zone is alive again. 10 years after humanity's exodus, the galaxy was transformed. Where once there had been a rigid hierarchy of dominant and subject species, now there was a dynamic community of partners exploring the stars together. Where once expansion had meant conquest, now it meant cooperation and shared discovery. President Foster, now serving his second term, often visited the memorial built on New Terra for the billions who had died during the collapse. The memorial carried a simple inscription: they died not from war or disaster, but from the failure to recognize that all beings deserve dignity and respect. May we never forget this lesson. As he stood before the memorial one evening, Elder Synthara joined him. The ancient Veilari was now over 4,000 years old, but she had chosen to spend her remaining years helping to build the coalition rather than retreating to her dying homeworld. "Do you think we have truly learned?" she asked him. Dan looked up at the stars, where human and alien ships traveled together toward new discoveries. "We're still learning," he said, "but we're learning together, and that makes all the difference." The galaxy stretched before them, vast and full of promise. Humanity had left the council, the universe had collapsed, but from that ending had come a beginning more wonderful than anyone had dared to imagine.